for the week of December the 16th here, 2020. From here at Cave Run Lake and Hook Outdoors. Today, me and Evan Barker will let you kindly know what's going on here at Cave Run Lake, and at the end of it, we'll have a little fishing tip session there. I think Evan's going to do kind of a match the hatch kind of thing for spring. When it gets cold like this, everyone kind of starts thinking about March and the coming year, and hopefully we'll put all this COVID stuff behind us, and the fish will be biting, the weather will be good, and we can just move right on down the road. Well, let's get started here. Cave Run Lake sits at 725.4 feet of elevation, which is roughly 1.5 feet above Summer Pool. We had some rain south of us here a while back, and it kind of shot the lake up a little bit, but they're doing their best to draw it back down. The outflow is running at 1,505 CFS in the spillway. The lake temps set in the mid 40s, I would imagine. You've still got pretty good clarity. We haven't had a lot of silty run in as far as that goes. Spillway has their temps usually run, you're looking at mid 40s for them too. The fishing in the spillway has been pretty good when the flow was down in that 500 range. Seen a lot of walleye come out of there, some really nice catfish, heard of a few muskies along, but I think the walleye's been the big thing. I had a guy in 2 days ago, and he was talking about there was a group of people fishing down below him, and they had caught like 3 nice walleye, weighed probably 6 or 7 pound apiece. So that's kind of fascinating there. The muskie here at Cave Run right now, it is a sucker bite if you can get them. Of course, it's a glide baits, dive and rises primarily seem to be a pretty good deal right now, along with big magnum bladed spinner baits. If you have something in those colors there, would be something in more of a natural look, a black with nickel blades, black with gold blades, anything in a white with a little chartreuse in it. It seems to be just your basic colors are working pretty well right now. Don't know of much catfishing going on the lake right now, but I do know that they are catching them out of the spillway, and it's not really lake oriented, but I keep up with a few pay lakes around on my Facebook feed, and it seems like the pay lake fishing and even the fishing up around the Ojai River has been pretty decent right now. It seems like up there around the Greenup Dam and so forth that there's been a reasonable amount of fish caught. We've got some cool rainy weather here right now, but it's supposed to straighten up toward the weekend, and it's looking like next week's going to be a reasonably decent week. You know, temps in upper 40s, low 50s, maybe even up in the mid 50s next week, and some sunshine, which always makes for a better fishing day. And we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm planning on going a couple of days next week, hopefully, weather permitting and that sort of thing, and we'll just see how it goes. Evan's going to pipe in here right now and give us a little bit on what's going on with the bass fishing, and then we'll just go straight from that and then talk about this week's fishing tip. So Evan, let's see what you got.
So, the bass here at Cave Run, with the water temperature being around 45 to 46 degrees, they're going to be in their winter haunts. They're going to be pushed out deep. Largemouth and smallmouth both. They're going to be really deep. The best pattern right now that I've found is going to be fishing offshore brush piles. Anything in that about 10 to, if you can find any in 20 foot where the water's so low.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find anything between 10 and 20, but mainly in that 15 foot's really the sweet spot here. So if you can find any in that general area, that's going to be your most productive brush piles to me. But if you're not attuned to fishing brush piles, you can get offshore on those steep rock banks, chunk rock, things like that. And, you can throw a jig, you can maybe drag a Carolina rig, anything like that. Just fish slow to try and get them to get them bass to eat. They're lethargic right now with the water temperature being so low. So just kind of fish slow and kind of make them eat. But they're still there and they still got to eat sometimes. So. To kind of move into the fishing tip this week, I'm going to be kind of talking about matching the hatch when you're out there on the water. What I mean by matching the hatch is presenting your baits that you're fishing for the bass, presenting them as the same thing as the fish you're eating. If you see that the bass pushing up and they're breaking the surface, they're eating shad or something like that, or if they're eating shad on the surface of the water, you kind of know to switch up, whatever you're fishing, kind of make it a shad pattern, whether it's a shad, a silver and white spinnerbait, a silver crankbait or anything like that, a rattle trap, something like that. Or, if you see that you're catching fish, on the bottom with, a jig or something like that, and it's a natural color, that those fish are, eating crawdads or something like that on the bottom. And another thing a lot of guys do, and especially me, is like when I catch one, I'll look down at its throat and I'll see, sometimes you can see if it had just ate a shad or if it had just ate a crawdad, because you'll see part of that crawdad or that shad sticking out of the fish's throat. So, if you catch a bass and you open up its mouth and you see, the tail of a shad sticking out, those fish are, keyed in on shad. So kind of make an adjustment, start fishing a white spinnerbait, white square bill, rattle trap, swim jig, maybe in a swim bait or something like that. But, if you see the fish, if you catch a fish and you see that it has, a crawdad or something like that, or you see a pincher down its throat, the fish are eating on the bottom, they're eating crawdads off the bottom. So, drag a jig or, drag a soft plastic like a craw or something on the bottom. And, another thing a lot of times that they do is, like I was at Lake Cumberland last weekend, and, I caught a smallmouth and I swung it up, and when the fish hit the carpet, and actually puked up a few really small shad, like, inch to really less than 2-inch shad on the front deck.
Right.
And, that kind of keyed me in what the fish were eating. And, I also seen, just on the surface of the water, a few dead shad that were, 1 inch to 2 inches long. So, that keyed me in to kind of maybe fishing a smaller jerk bait or, a blade bait, something small that imitates a small shad like that.
Right.
And, that's what the fish are going to be eating. So one of the main things is when you get on the water, just to match the hatch as best as you possibly can. And, here's something I kind of forgot about too. If you're a tournament fisherman and, you're fishing tournaments and all this stuff, and you're putting these fish in the live well, something's happened to me before is we were up in Wisconsin. We were fishing the high school national championship, and we put some fish in the box from either day 1 or day 2 of the tournament. And then, on day 3, I opened the live well, and I seen, chunks of a crawdad in my live well,
Right.
where I caught a fish,
Right.
and, it had spit up a crawdad. So, that kind of keyed me in on a different pattern. And, that's kind of little things like that can really get you extra bites and can key you into a really good pattern. You can catch more fish doing that.
Okay. Do you find as the match the hatch? I know people kindly associate that with maybe a spring type, deal, but that's, to me, it's more of a year round, because you're just trying to figure out what they're eating, given the certain time of year. Like they may be eating a certain color of crawdad, depending on where you're located at in the country, or you may see them spit up some small bluegill or something like that. So, just to kind of clarify, it's not necessarily a spring deal, but it does cover, just the year round.
Yeah, just paying attention to things like that all year round. The fish, they eat all year round, even, in the wintertime when that water, like here at Cape Run, it'll get, down in the mid-30s. I hope it doesn't this year, but, sometimes it does. It'll get down in the mid-30s. And, the fish, they're still there. They still got to eat. So, just paying attention to what they're eating, that can really get you onto a good pattern, and it can help you catch more fish.
Well, and talking about matching a hatch, and this is something just kind of came to me, the popularity and the productiveness of the Ned rig. What, in your opinion, is that Ned rig imitating, because all these baits that we're throwing, they're imitating something that these fish are eating for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's reaction strikes and stuff, but I don't think the Ned rig is such a reaction type lure. I mean, it's something that you're trying to entice that fish to bite. So, in your opinion, what's that Ned rig imitating?
Really the only thing I could think of is like possibly a leech.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the first thing that came to my mind. I could be wrong, but them fish, they're dumb. They got they got brains the size of a $50. So, sometimes we give them too much credit. So, just something small like that Ned rig. The guy that actually made the Ned rig famous, the guy who designed it, all he was wanting to do was he was wanting to find a bait that he could catch 100 fish in a day on. And just finding something, so subtle and so finesse yet effective, where, that Ned rig still catches giant fish. That's a misconception that a lot of people have that I found, the Ned rig only catches, 1 pound fish or, 12 inches, whatever. But, me personally, I've caught over, 3.5, 4 pound smallmouth on Ned rigs down in Cumberland. But, I catch, I've had, 50 fish days down there at Cumberland on a Ned rig. And, most of the fish are, in that, 12 to 15, 16 inch range.
Right.
But, you still have, giant smallmouth that eat it.
Right. And I just and speaking of Lake Cumberland, you've got a tournament coming up there this weekend. What are you kind of expecting out of that?
Yeah, I've got a tournament on Lake Cumberland this Saturday, December 19th. Cumberland's fishing tough right now. It's fishing really tough. I was down there last weekend in practice, caught a keeper smallmouth. It's kind of I was kind of fishing what I expected the fish to be on during the tournament.
Right.
Because, what this is kind of something I heard from Gerald Swindle a while ago, like talking about, practicing in tournaments. He was talking about practice fish where the fish are going, not where the fish are at right now. So that's kind of what I done in practice was I fish, your normal, your main lake points, your secondary chunk rock points, really in the first quarter of the main creeks down there, because I knew that the water was still 54 degrees there on Cumberland.
Right, sure.
And I knew that this coming week, or right now, it was going to be ridiculously cold all week. We was barely going to get in the 40s for highs. So I knew that water was going to cool down a bunch by next weekend. So I knew that those fish, they should be moving out into that pattern that I was fishing. So, I was just trying to find something and see if those fish are already there. Okay. And, something that clued me into that was I didn't really catch the fish on that pattern yet, but that told me that they're still coming. So I knew that if we had, cold temperatures and, that water temperature dropped maybe, 2 or 3 degrees in a week, then, possibly the fish could be on that pattern then. I already found a few banks and things like that where I know I can catch a few on if they're on the pattern. So really what we're going to do when we get down there, I'm more than likely going to have 15 rods out on the front deck. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go practicing. Okay. I'm going to go practicing in the tournament. I'm going to cover as much water as I can. I'm going to try and stumble. Really the purpose of having so many rods on the deck is, not getting hung up on one thing and it not working all day long.
Right, sure.
We're just constantly switching, we get on a chunk rock bank, halfway back in a creek, and I might fish a jerkbait for a little bit, and then I might switch up when we get to the next point, and I might fish a crankbait, a 3XD for a while, then we get to the next spot, and I might fish, a silver buddy or something.
Right.
And then if I start getting bit on a silver buddy, I know that Cumberland, it's a pattern lake. So, once I find a pattern, I can run that same deal throughout the entire lake, just finding, say if I catch them, halfway back in a major creek on, chunk rock points, I can run that same pattern basically all over the entire lake and cover as much water and, be as effective as I can. So, it's going to be, it's with the weather they're given and the weather we've had this week, it should be getting better every single day.
Right.
So I'm hoping Saturday, it's supposed to be a low of, I think, around 35, 36, something like that at takeoff. And then by the middle of the day, I think it's supposed to be around 45 to 50 maybe.
Mhm.
But they're also given a chance of rain, which helps. Doesn't help us as fishermen because it's flat cold. But, it helps them a small amount. But
Yeah.
down there they like that. Just that ugly weather. That overcast. A little bit of mist,
Sure.
rain, something like that.
Yeah.
That's just when they eat. So if we can get down there and catch it right with the water temperatures falling and the fish moving out to their their main lake haunts, their wintertime haunts, it should set up to be a pretty good tournament. It should take a pretty good bag.
Now, are they still in the drawdown mode there, or are they pretty much at winter pool now? Do you know?
I think they've got it at winter pool right now.
Yeah.
As of 2 days ago, it was 30 feet below their normal pool, which sounds like just a ridiculous amount. It is. But
Yeah.
Cumberland's so deep.
Yeah.
Their winter pool is 30 feet low, so they're there. So I'm hoping with the weather, run-ins, creek run-ins, things like
Right.
that. That's a pattern in itself down there. If you can get that fresh, oxygenated water running in the backs of those pockets where you have a big run-in,
Mhm.
that can play in, and the fish will get there and they'll stack up, and there'll be groups of them back there.
Okay.
So I'm hoping maybe with this rain today, and if we can get a little bit of rain Friday or something,
Right.
get the run-ins moving, that might make a little pattern itself. So I'm just going to go into it with an open mind and hopefully make the right adjustments and stumble onto something before 3 o'clock.
All right. Well, that sounds like good stuff. Well, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. And, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, you can download the Podbean app and subscribe to that. And you will automatically be notified every time we put a new episode up. So I would appreciate that. But you can also listen to us on most of the major platforms, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and so forth. And we're going to try to do this every week. Of course, the fishing's kind of getting a little bit slower here on Cave Run, but we'll always try to find something to talk about, and then whether it's a tip or what's going on in the tournament world and that sort of thing. So just be sure to tune in and check us out. And as always, get outdoors with Hook Outdoors.